over the next few episodes, I'm going to be sort of dissecting my training, stripping everything back and sort of showing you how I sort of construct a week and what I kind of hold valuable and dear to kind of my training process and kind of what keeps me healthy and allowing me to do the things that I enjoy doing, right? Because essentially my goals are to be as fit and as fast and as strong as I can possibly be as I get older, while staying injury free, which is probably the most important aspect of my viewpoint and when it comes to training, right? So our biggest obstacle is always going to be injuries and pushing too hard and tweaking something and having a setback. So when I'm sort of looking at constructing sort of my weekly training or how I view training, it's always with that sense of, right, make sure I'm moving well first and then load the body and push the strength and push the speed thereafter. Following on from last week's video in terms of the ground-based mobility warm-up and having something that allows you to have that sort of daily check-in with yourself, to see how you're moving, to see how your body's feeling, so that you can kind of then adjust your training if necessary, whether that's kind of increasing the intensity or reducing it to kind of align, because really that's how training should be. It should be somewhat auto-regulatory and listening to how our body feels on a day-to-day basis and then making any adjustments necessary so that we can continually progress and move forward. Now we're going to be going into just good athletic movement, right? So first and foremost is make sure our body is moving well. Obviously in the background what I'm playing is kind of me going through a sort of what I define as like an athletic warm-up. This is the sort of stuff that you'd have done as a kid playing football: high knees, butt kicks, side strides. The reality is that the human body is designed to perform a whole array of movements. You know, we've got these big ball and socket joints at our shoulders and our hips, which allow us some freedom in mobility and movement to move and move well. And I think that the way I view things is that if you don't use something, you lose it. We can all kind of sit here, we hold our hands up and just say that training as we get older can get quite kind of very monotone, right? We can become very stuck in our ways and one-dimensional. You know, we go to the gym, we run at a similar pace every time, small movements. We go into the gym, we squat, we hinge, we push. But really what we want to have at least a weekly practice of is just going through some bigger ranges of motion. So as you can see here in the background, those high knees, butt kicks, side strides, you know, karaoke runs, hip circles, open the gates, close the gates, you know, and then going through some drills, because the reality is that we are locomotion based creatures. So we need to make sure that we're practicing locomotion and practicing the human gait, right? I don't care how much you can squat if you can't walk, run, and move relatively efficiently. When doing these drills and this athletic warm-up, it serves as kind of three main purposes for me. One is obviously just a general warm-up before I get into some running or some sprints or whatever it might be for the day. The second one is going to be training the muscles through those ranges of motion specific to what I'm going to be doing. So if we're talking sprinting and running, you know, going through the A skips, B skips teaches us that rhythm, timing, and coordination that is going to bleed into making me a better runner, a more efficient runner, because the muscles that contribute to running are going to be like kind of first and foremost like more switched on because I'm using them more regularly. But second, they're also going to have more resilience. So they're going to be more resilient to fatigue in the long run because I'm training them sort of a bit more extensively here. And then the third benefit of this is I do believe that it reduces our risk of injury, right? Because we're training ourselves to have a bigger range of capacity through the local muscles related to running. So one thing that I always like to articulate to people, there are two main aspects of fitness, right? The main one, which everyone kind of thinks about, is obviously the heart and lungs, the cardiovascular fitness that you get from running. But you also get the peripheral fitness, the fitness of the tissues associated with running mechanics, i.e. hip flexors, glute med on single leg stability, you know, your dorsiflexors, your tibialis anterior, your calf, your Achilles tendon. All of these things have a fitness associated with them to what they can tolerate before they start accumulating too much fatigue. And if you accumulate too much fatigue, form will break down. And if form breaks down, we are again more likely to get hurt. So these are specific training for athletic movements. And you know, I do believe that sprinting is one of the best things that we can do. I'm going to do a separate video again on sprinting. I know I've done one before in the past, but sprinting is one of the best exercises we can do to improve running mechanics and efficiency. You know, the speed and power will come on top of really, really efficient movement. I don't really care how fast you are for one sprint, it's how fast are you after 20 sprints when fatigue sets in. You know, if you look at a football game, for argument's sake, 75% of all injuries occur in the last 10 minutes of the first half or the last 15 minutes of the second half. Why is that? Because that's when you're most fatigued. When fatigue sets in, we are more likely to take that misstep. We are going to slightly overreach. Tissues are, more fatigued, have less extensibility. So it's always about improving our capacity, improving our efficiency so that we can then improve our top end. And that's where I think going through a good athletic movement will kind of cover all bases. It will help us move better. It will help us move with more efficiency, and it will also reduce our risk of injury. So it gives us an opportunity to practice moving in a controlled environment. It can allow us to see some technical flaws that we might carry over into our running, and it can help expose some weaknesses that are going to help us identify potential injury risks. So hopefully you found that useful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments section below. But until next time, guys, have a great day.